Today's video will demonstrate how to create stubs from a structure chart. Hello, I'm James Helfrich. A structure chart gives us a map of all the functions in a program, but how do you turn that into working code? Oftentimes, the first step is to create a collection of stubs, and these stubs, or placeholders, will give us a map of all the different functions in the program and allow us to implement them one by one in any order we choose. This video will demonstrate that process. So we'll start with what is a stub. A stub is a proxy for a forthcoming implementation that promises to be complete. It is a tool enabling us to put placeholders in the code base for all the functions in our structure chart. So for an example, let's say I have a function called num_days_in_month. I'm going to take a month and a year as an input parameter. I'm going to return the number of days in that month as an output parameter. Well, my stub will just have that function, this one in Ruby, which is going to say num_days_in_month, and it's always going to return 31. In other words, it's incomplete. It's just a placeholder. Now, this guy was going to call is leap year. It's going to take the year in and a true false as a response. So now my stub is more complete. num_days_in_month is going to call is leap year. It's not going to actually do anything with the output. And then is leap year is just going to always return true. Now I have placeholders for all the functions in my structure chart, allow me to implement them in any order I choose. So let's take this structure chart for a program that plays chess. I can read the board, play the game, and write the board. And then it allows me to play the moves one at a time and validate the moves and a whole bunch of other things. There's a lot of functions here. How am I going to turn this into code? Well, let's demonstrate that. So how should I start? Well, I'm going to start with main. Now in Python, everything that's not in a function is main, so I'm just going to go with that. And we're going to do three things. We're going to read board, we're going to play game, and we're going to write board. Now, not only am I going to call the functions, but I also have to make sure that I honor the parameters. So I'm going to say board equals readBoard. playGame will modify the board, and writeBoard will write to the board. Okay. Now I'm going to need a function called def readBoard, which is going to return a board. Now, right now, I'm just going to say board is an empty array, and I'm just going to return that board. Play game is now going to take the board as a parameter, and it's going to do nothing. And write board is going to take a board as a parameter and do nothing. Okay, that's my first level. Next level, let's take a look at readBoard. readBoard is going to get a file name. So I'm going to say file name equals get file name. Sorry, I should have used my correct Python syntax here. I get confused sometimes. There we go. Get my style good. Okay, get file name, and then it's going to, my moves is going to be empty. And now I'm going to play moves, and this is going to take the moves, and it's going to return a board. So I no longer have to make that one. There we go. And I'll return the board, which means this guy right here is going to have a def get file name. And it's going to return a file name. There we go. And def play moves is going to return a board. All right, in each case here, notice I'm just making placeholders. I'm going to call the function that are dependent, but I'm not going to implement any of the code at all. Let's see here, how's play game going to work? Let's do that one. Play game is going to take a board, and it's going to right now do nothing. But now it turns out play game is going to prompt the user for a move, and it's going to call is valid on the move. Notice how I don't actually do anything with the output. I don't really care. And then finally, it's going to take that move and it's going to call play move. There we go. So I have these underscores here means I have things which are not yet finished. So I'm going to better do def prompt move, and I'm going to return B4 to B5. Sure. And I'm going to say def is valid move. And the answer is true for now because it's just a placeholder. And def play move. And play move is going to take the move and a board and modify it. But right now, it's just going to do nothing. Okay, and I can continue this for every function in my structure chart. In each case, I'm just doing the minimal code necessary to make it work, but no functionality is actually implemented yet. It also allows me to implement the functions in any order I want. So even though get file name is buried within readBoard, which is buried in main, I can still implement and test this function first without worrying about the order in which they're called. And that's the cool thing about stubs. This is the stubs section of the top-down design chapter of the software design textbook.